The story opens in the hills of Bethlehem, where the air is crisp and the wind carries the scent of olive trees. The sun rises slowly above the landscape, painting the fields in warm gold. A young shepherd walks among the sheep, guiding them with calm movements. His clothes are simple, his hands are rough from work, yet his eyes shine with something deeper than youth. Dis is David. He is the youngest son in the house of Jesse, often overlooked and sent to watch over the flock while his older brothers prepare for battles and duties. But in the quiet fields, David learns something greater than military skill. He learns courage. He learns patience. He learns how to protect the vulnerable, how to listen for danger, and how to trust God when no one else is watching. The hills become his sanctuary. The sheep become his responsibility. The harp becomes his companion. Every note he plays floats into the sky like a prayer, simple yet sincere. And God listens. David appears small in the eyes of men, but he stands tall in the eyes of God. One afternoon, as the sun sinks behind the hills, a figure approaches the town of Bethlehem. His presence is unmistakable. Older men whisper his name. Children watch with wide eyes. He is Samuel, the prophet of the Lord, the man who anointed kings. Samuel enters the house of Jesse with a purpose hidden inside his heart. God has told him that among Jesse's sons stands the next king of Israel. Jesse calls for his sons. Eliab stands tall and strong. Samuel looks at him and thinks, surely this is the one. But God speaks softly. Do not consider his appearance or his height. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. One by one, Jesse's sons walk before Samuel, Abinadab, Shammah, all the others. Yet God chooses none of them. Confusion fills the room. Samuel turns to Jesse. Are these all the sons you have? Jesse hesitates, almost forgetting the youngest. There is still the boy shepherding the sheep. Samuel, not sent for him. David enters the room, dusty from the fields, clothes smelling of sheep, a harp string tied around his waist. He does not look like a future king, but the moment Samuel sees him, the truth becomes clear. This is the one. Samuel pours oil on David's head. The fragrance fills the room. The Spirit of God rests on David in a powerful way. He stands still, unsure of what the future holds, but aware that something sacred is beginning. A king has been chosen, but the nation does not yet know his name. Time passes. The nation of Israel faces a new threat. The Philistines gather for war, their army vast and confident. In the valley of Elah, two forces stand on opposite hills. Fear hangs in the air like a thick cloud. From the Philistine camp, a giant steps forward. His name is Goliath, massive towering over ordinary men. His armor glimmers in the sun. His voice thunders across the valley. He challenges Israel day after day. Send me a man who will fight me. But no one moves. Not Saul, the king, not the soldiers, not David's older brothers. Goliath's presence drains courage from the hearts of the bravest men. 40 days pass. Every morning and evening the giant appears. Every day the echo of fear grows stronger. Yet God is preparing someone who has never seen a battlefield, but knows what it means to trust. Jesse sends David to the battlefield with bread and grain for his brothers. David arrives early in the morning as the armies gather to shout their battle cries. The sound fills the valley, but courage is thin. Then David hears the voice of the giant. He watches as Goliath mocks the God of Israel and challenges the army again. Anger rises inside David, not out of pride, but out of deep faith. How can this uncircumcised Philistine defy the armies of the living God? His brothers are embarrassed. They tell him to go home. They accuse him of pride. But David's conviction burns brighter than their doubts. He volunteers to fight the giant. Soldiers laugh. Saul tries to discourage him. David looks small, young, and inexperienced. But David remembers the lion. He remembers the bear. He remembers the moments in the field when danger came for the sheep, and God gave him strength. The same God who helped me defeat the lion and the bear will help me defeat this giant." Saul hesitates, then agrees. He offers David his armor. David tries it on, but it feels heavy, unfamiliar and wrong. It removes Italiano, he chooses. Instead, the Tuasi knows, a sling, a staff. 5 smooth stones from the stream. He walks into the valley with no armor, no sword, and no training, just faith in the presence of God. The valley grows silent as David steps forward. Goliath laughs when he sees him. "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" David speaks with courage that does not belong to his age. "You come to me with sword and spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts." He places a stone in his sling, winds it with confidence built in the fields of Bethlehem, and releases it. The stone flies through the air, guided not by chance, but by purpose. It strikes the giant's forehead. Goliath falls. The earth trembles. The Philistine army freezes in shock. The Israelites rise with shouts of triumph. David runs toward the fallen giant, knowing the battle is over. The shepherd boy has defeated the warrior feared by nations. Israel will never forget this day. But David's journey is far from over. Giants fall quickly, but kingdoms rise slowly. What waits ahead is not easy victory, but long years of shaping, struggle, and preparation. David is brought before Saul, the king who once feared the giant. Saul looks at the boy with intense curiosity. A shepherd who defeated a warrior, a youth who brought courage back into the heart of Israel. In the palace, David begins to serve as a harp player. When Saul's spirit becomes troubled and heavy, David plays the harp, and peace settles over the king's heart. The melodies David once played under the open sky now fill royal halls with the presence of God. David also becomes a warrior in Saul's army. His victories grow. His reputation grows. His wisdom grows, and the people begin to sing a new song. Saul has killed his thousands, David his tens of thousands. These words reach Saul like a sharp arrow. Jealousy, dark and consuming, grows inside him. The king who once welcomed David now fears him. The throne Saul tries to protect becomes a burden, and David becomes a threat. But David has no desire for power. He seeks only to serve. One evening, as David plays the harp, Saul watches him with tormented eyes. A spear rests in the king's hand. Without warning, Saul hurls the spear toward David. It strikes the wall behind him. David escapes. This is not an isolated moment. Again and again, Saul tries to harm him. Yet David refuses to retaliate. He chooses humility instead of revenge. He chooses trust instead of fear. He chooses to honor a king who has lost his way. David's heart stays aligned with God even when the world around him turns hostile. David flees for his life. The palace is behind him. The wilderness stands before him. But in the barren land, he learns the deepest lessons of faith. He hides in caves. He sleeps under the stars. He leads a small group of loyal followers. He prays with exhaustion and hope. The wilderness becomes a place of shaping. The giant in this season is not Goliath. The giant is survival. The giant is patience. The giant is trust. In the darkness of caves, David writes psalms that will one day comfort generations. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. These words rise from the soul of a man who has lost everything except God. One day, Saul enters a cave to rest, unaware that David and his men hide deep inside it. The perfect opportunity presents itself. David's men whisper urgently, "This is your chance. God has delivered Saul into your hands." David moves quietly. He approaches the king. His men hold their breath, but instead of striking Saul, David cuts a small piece from the edge of Saul's robe. He steps back into the shadows. Even then, his heart trembles because he touched the garment of the king. When Saul leaves the cave, David follows him at a distance and calls out. Saul turns around, surprised. David lifts the piece of robe and speaks with respect. "I could have harmed you, but I did not. I will not raise my hand against the one anointed by God." Saul is overwhelmed. Tears fill his eyes. For a brief moment, sees David's heart with clarity. He knows David will be king. He knows the throne is shifting. But his jealousy returns soon after, and the chase continues. David's integrity in this moment tells a greater story. A king is not crowned by force. A king is shaped by character. A king waits for God's timing. Years pass. Battles rise and fall. Saul grows weaker, consumed by fear and despair. On the battlefield of Gilboa, the Philistines defeat Israel. Saul is wounded. His sons fall beside him. The king who once stood tall now collapses under the weight of his choices. Saul dies that day, and with him ends a chapter of Israel's history. When David hears of Saul's death, he does not celebrate. He mourns deeply. He tears his clothes. He sings a lament to honor Saul and Jonathan, the friend he loved as a brother. How the mighty have fallen. These words echo through the land, showing the heart of a man who never sought revenge, who never rejoiced in the downfall of another. After years of waiting, wandering, and suffering, David is anointed king over Judah. But the journey is not complete. The nation remains divided. Conflict and tension continue. It takes years before Israel becomes whole again. Finally, leaders from every tribe come to David in Hebron. They speak with unity. They acknowledged what God revealed long ago. You will shepherd the people of Israel. You will be king. David kneels. Oil pours over his head once more. The promise whispered in Bethlehem, the calling confirmed by Samuel, the trials faced in the wilderness all lead to this sacred moment. David becomes king over all Israel. David establishes Jerusalem as the capital. He brings the Ark of God into the city with dancing, singing, and celebration. The presence of God returns to the heart of the nation. David sits in his palace and dreams of building a temple for God. But God has a different plan. The temple will be built by David's son. Yet God promises David something far greater. Your throne will be established forever. This covenant becomes the foundation for the lineage that leads to the Messiah, through David, the shepherd boy from Bethlehem. God prepares the path of salvation for the world. David's story is not perfect. His reign includes moments of failure, sorrow, and consequence. But even in his darkest moments, he turns to God with honesty, repentance, and trust. Create in me a clean heart, O God. David's greatness does not come from his victories, his crown, or his wealth. His greatness comes from his heart. He is the shepherd who trusted God, the warrior who fought in God's strength, the fugitive who clung to God in the wilderness, the king who sought God's presence, the man who, despite his flaws, loved God deeply. David's life becomes a model of faith, courage, repentance, and devotion. The camera rises over Jerusalem as the sun sets behind the hills. The sound of a harp echoes in the distance. We see David standing on the palace rooftop, looking over the city he loves. His eyes reflect years of battles, victories, losses, and encounters with God. He lifts his gaze to heaven. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? His words float into the air like a final song, a final testimony. The shepherd boy who once played for sheep now plays for a nation. The boy who defeated a giant now teaches generations how to face their own giants. The boy anointed in secret becomes the king remembered for centuries. His journey shows that God does not choose the strongest, the tallest, or the most impressive. God chooses the heart that trusts, and through David, God writes a story that continues to inspire every believer who walks through fear, uncertainty, or impossible battles. David's journey begins with a sling and ends with a crown, but through it all, one truth remains: God was with him.